Out here in the southern New Mexico desert, you wouldn't expect to find much other than the booming oilfield industry. But what if I told you one teacher from Jal is running a program that is taking his students to new heights?
3, 2, 1.
Here in Jal, New Mexico, there are a variety of opportunities offered to each and every student, from culinary to shop, even oilfield safety programs coming next semester. But none have been as amazing as the rocketry program. Being an alumni of Jal High School, I was able to sit down with the coach making all of this possible and get his perspective on the program.
So my name is Nathan Richard. I am the teacher of rocket science here in Jal. I teach 2 rocket classes. It's really 3 different rocket classes, but I teach it in 2 different periods. One of them combines 2 of the levels. Above that, I'm an assistant principal. My role there is I cover all of the CTE stuff, so the culinary department. I oversee the rockets. I've taught that class for, I think this is year number 9. So the first year that students are in rockets, we call it the Tchaikovsky level. And really we call it the 1 pound, 1 mile, because the other name is kind of hard to say. So what they do is the first semester, they learn a whole bunch of science, and really what it boils down to is physics. By spring break, they are designing a rocket that takes a 1 pound payload 1 mile in the air. So they have certain parameters in order to do that. And they're given that, and like I said, it's their design. Design software called RockSim. That's what we've used since we started in 9 years ago. They designed this rocket in there, and then they have to build it to their design. It's not something that comes in a kit. It's something that they have to research materials, research components. They have to decide as a team, okay, which of these are going to be best based on how much they are, you're given a budget. And so they make decisions based on what they think is going to give themselves the best success. That's the first level. The second level kind of builds on that. It's called the Old Birth level. So those are students that have completed the first level. And they begin the year by building an Excel spreadsheet that is a mathematical model or mathematical simulation, a transonic rocket. So they have to calculate altitude, they have to calculate velocity, they have to calculate acceleration, they have to calculate drag, they have to calculate all the different forces, the force of gravity, the force of drag, the force of the thrust, and also build in recovery. So that's a task, and those Excel spreadsheets, they end up being very, very complicated. And when they get done with that, they do the same thing that the first year does. They design their rocket in RockSim. But once they get into RockSim, they start picking components and deciding and making decisions, and they get a design, and then they have to build to that design. And finally, we piloted von Braun level last year. That kind of is a little different spin on the transonic course. They have to do the same thing. They have to build the flight profile, except their goal is to take a rocket not past the speed of sound, right? So they're not going Mach 1, they're going Mach 1.25. So we consider that supersonic. The only exception with that, with the von Braun level, is they're given a list of 9 different components, and they have to fabricate 6 of them. So they can't buy a nose cone, for example. My kids this year, they 3D printed a nose cone, which turned out really awesome. Here's somewhere I have, this was one of the prototype versions, and you can see it kind of lifted up from the print bed. And so the bottom is not exactly square. That's a big task, either way, to fabricate parts that are going to go Mach 1.25. And I'm really proud of where the program has gone and is currently. Well, and I think our program's success is really attributed to those kids. I think our superintendent and the principal who asked me to teach rocket, they started that program here. They tried to initiate it, and so their vision has contributed to that. But the kids, they've really taken a hold of it, and they set a high expectation of themselves, and they get it done. I tell students every single year, I said, I'm giving you the keys of the bus. If we end up in the ditch, you're the one driving. And I'll tell you, and I've told everybody that I've talked to, whether I run into them at the store and they ask about rockets, or somebody calls me from a newspaper or wherever, that it's really about the kids. Like I really don't do anything. I make sure they stay safe. If they're really struggling, I try to kind of point them in a direction, but they get all the credit, they get all the glory. So they do the work. It's definitely attributed to them. I think our program's success is really attributed to our kids here in Jal and the success we've had. And one of the things that I love about the program is that it builds skills that are so important as you step off into adulthood or into a career. Skills about teamwork, skills about problem solving, thinking outside the box. And those are things that can really help you in your journey. It allows me to do this and allows students to learn important skills. And it also lets them take the credit for it because they know at the end of the day, if the rocket doesn't get built, it's not because I didn't do it, because they know I'm not going to do it. That's been kind of the philosophy from day one. We have yet to not launch a rocket. So
If you wish to catch the launch next year, you'll have to wait until April as students from each and every high school from Lake Arthur, Hobbs, Loving, Lovington, Jal, Hagerman, and other schools across New Mexico and Texas get ready to launch next year. This has been Lorenzo Soliz with News 3 New Mexico, signing off.